Hello, everyone. We are thrilled to welcome you at the database webinar. My name is Stacy and I represent database marketing. Let's start with some quick housekeeping notes. Please ask questions in the corresponding tab of the interface. Our speaker will answer them after the presentation is over. I will probably help out by reading the questions aloud. And the recording and slides of the webinar will be sent your way shortly after we finish our today's presentation, and you will be able to revisit what's important for you. So our today's topic is business-oriented database metrics to ensure high availability and performance. The previous edition of this talk was given at SRE Day London 2025, where it got extremely positive feedback and was very well received in general. The webinar will learn about business-oriented monitoring that helps prevent the situations when the monitoring dashboards are green while the business is suffering. So our today's speaker is Mykhaylo Rykmas, MySQL expert at database. Prior to his current role, he had a long-running history of scaling and monitoring. Hello, Mike. Are you ready to take the virtual stage?
Hi, everyone. So today I wanted to present you my topic about business-driven monitoring and why I call it as an SRE weapon. So first of all, let me introduce myself. I am hands-on engineering manager with more than 50 years experience as a DevOps engineer, as a DBA, and currently as a team lead and engineer manager. I'm also a blogger in database blog. You can read several of my posts regarding databases. We are usually working with databases like MariaDB, MySQL, Postgres, Cassandra, and others, not only them, but these are the majors. And today, our agenda will be why I call it a business weapon. What we will talk about dashboards. We will talk about what I call business-driven monitoring, a definition of it. I will present you real cases from my own experience, and I will present you examples of how big tech companies doing it. It's my inspiration as well when I do it. And we will talk about how to implement business-driven monitoring in your companies, in your organizations, and of course, finally, we will have QA session. So let's go. And that was our plan. And now I propose to talk about dashboards. So what are dashboards? Dashboards are something we are, as an SRE engineers, as DBAs, as developers, we are seeing dashboards every day, I would say. If we have some technical project, we have some monitoring, we need to check if everything is healthy or not, and some monitoring programs could help us with this. We are observing usually CPU, responses, network, resources, etc. So that's definition of dashboards. Before I will dive into the problem, I want you to understand the direction we will go today in our webinar. So usually when I attend conferences, I come back with some great tools, new features, new technologies, and some other technical things. But I rarely come back to my team with some great idea what could change my mindset. And today, I would like that our webinar will be something what could change your mindset, what could help you when you come back to your team and you will describe what did you listen today. So this talk will be about idea, but not a technical stack. What is the problem we're gonna solve? The problem is most SREs, most DevOps team entire companies, tech companies, they are usually focusing on technical metrics such as CPU, memory, uptime, response time, etc., etc. These are important, of course, no doubt, but they don't always reflect what's happening from business perspective, and they don't reflect the real business issues. So the situation when system might be running fine, but customers might be struggling with something, with completing their orders, with finalizing their transactions. And that's why we need to start monitoring what matters for business, not just what matters for servers. And of course, here's a joke, but related joke, let's say. When I was preparing this presentation before the conference, I lost my glasses somewhere in home, and I was looking for them several minutes and trying to check this there and there, kitchen and bathroom. Wasn't able to find them. But when I decided, okay, I can live without glasses for this day, and I wanted to leave home, I looked into mirror and found that my glasses were on top of my head. And finally, it just showed me an idea that to resolve the issue, I just needed to just slightly change my focus and to look into the problem from another direction or from another perspective. And I was immediately able to find my glasses. And this is what we're gonna talk about today. So we can look at CPUs, we can look at resources, etc., into many technical metrics, but when we are trying to see into the how system is working from another perspective, from another point of view, you may find many different problems or different situations which occur into our system. And that is what I call business-driven monitoring. So what is definition? Business-driven monitoring is not a technical set. It's not a stack. It's not a tool or plugin. It's just a mindset shift. And if we need to define it, that it is something what matters for business, not for technical engineers. And of course, an example is you may see a lot of times that the system could have 100% uptime, but no one can place an order. That is the problem what business-driven monitoring should resolve. It is something what is tracking business KPIs alongside technical metrics. So it's not about replacing CPU graphs. It's about complementing them with metrics that show whether the business is truly functioning. Because when customer cannot place an order or cannot check out and there is no alerts, it means that our monitoring actually failed because we didn't recognize that some problem occurs. What metrics could be watched? What metrics could be tracked? From my experience, I can say that for e-commerce, it usually matters how many orders per minute or per day you have. For apps and SaaS, it's active users, feature adoptions, churn rates. For financials, it's successful transactions, failed payments. For travel, it's flight check-ins, hotel reservation. So actually, these are business metrics what are showing us if business is healthy at current moment or not. And my favorite item, which I usually try to describe to my team, is a feedback. And I usually like to monitor to help monitoring feedback to our customer. And it's not about if it's positive or negative. It's about feedback patterns, about how much of feedback we have. It's about a volume of feedbacks items. So why it matters? Because usually, let's say people are lazy if everything works fine for them. They don't react fast if everything works, but when something stopped working or something failed, they are reacting fast. They are creating some tickets, bug reports, app reviews, social comments. So that's why we are trying monitoring volume of feedbacks, because if people care, something is happening. So we don't just track sentiment, we track engagement patterns, because when people suddenly start talking, debating, complaining, it matters for us a lot, and it means really there's something happening. Let me share you several experience cases from my side. These are cases which we implemented on our system, which actually helped us to identify issues. Case number one is monitoring orders per minute. It was a far long time ago. It was e-commerce platform, and on this platform we noticed that number of orders dropped. This was platform which did stable amount of orders per minute, and one time we got alert that there is no orders per minute, and we were looking at the problem, and our dashboards were green. Everything from technical perspective actually was green, and if we come to our SRE engineers, they were showing us dashboards and see, Mike, everything is okay. But we were diving into the problem more, and actually we found that payment provider, payment gateway was actually down. And we reported this case, of course, to our other technical engineers, and they just did a failover, and they replaced that payment gateway by another payment gateway, and everything magically restored. Everything was working fine. Case number two is interesting case, is about tracking support cases per hour. This one is, it was a canary deployment that had gone out to a subset of users, and traditional monitoring didn't raise alarm. Most of traffic was okay, everything was okay, system health looked great, everything was good. But we noticed an anomaly in number of support cases, and we were looking at it, and we find out that some people complaining that some data was deleted on their side by the application. It was very specific case. It was for specific browser, specific operation system, for only specific subset of users, and we were not able to catch it during our test, but monitoring number of support cases per hour helped us to find it and helped us to identify it on earlier stage before we complete our deployment to the rest of the users. Case number three, it was a very tricky case, I would say, and at some point of time, we noticed that we had signups, number of signups very stable, but number of renewals, we noticed some anomaly here. We concluded that it shouldn't be this amount of renewals. It should be more based on our analysis of how users are using our system. And finally, we identified that, again, for some specific users, password recovery flow was broken for certain browser on specific OS. So returning users who forgot their password simply couldn't log in or renew. We immediately fixed this, and our subscription behavior restored. So, what's the lesson we learned from these three cases? In all these three cases, traditional monitoring didn't raise any alarm. The CPU was fine, response time was fine, no errors, dashboards were green. You remember the case when you come to SRE engineers who are doing monitoring and they say, hey, Mike, everything green, everything works for us, but something is not. So in each case, it was a business metrics that exposed us an issue. And now you might say, hey, don't you have QA? Shouldn't we catch this during testing? And here my reply is yes, we have QA. They are doing test coverage, but sometimes something might not be working fine for specific browser, specific flow, or specific customer segment. So we are all human, mistakes happening, and that's actually what happens for us. Some cases, even if they were tested on actual production environment, they were not working like we suspected. And that's why I say that business-driven monitoring should be implemented if it's possible. And personally, for me, I always try to do it. I always come to business and asking them what should be monitored from their perspective. But let's talk about it a bit later during our presentation. During my work, I often find an inspiration in blog posts from engineering teams on major tech companies. They don't just build great systems, they also share how do they monitoring, how they think about business impact, how they are connecting engineering efforts to real business goals. And I choose three examples, and I would like to show you that what I call business-driven monitoring, it's not something what I invented. It's something what I deployed, applied on our system. It's something I like to do, and it's something what I want explain to you, but this is something what other tech companies already doing. So case number one, it's about Netflix and how they enhance their monitoring. They have a system called Telltale. It's intelligent application monitoring. They have here context-aware alerts. They try to reduce noise and they try to highlight real issues. So they try to ensure their infrastructure monitoring, technical monitoring, and business KPI monitoring actually aligns with business impact. They also have data-driven streaming optimization. So they track user engagement metrics. They check streaming quality and how it impacts customer satisfaction. So actually, what they're trying to do, they are measuring real user experience to make sure user is satisfied, because it's matter for them what user are thinking about Netflix. It's matter for them that users are coming back to them to watch some TVs or etc. So they are concerned about what users feeling. Case number two, this model is from Amazon. It's not Amazon's own KPI, but it's helpful framework that they share with companies who are moving to the cloud. It shows how KPI evolve over the time in three phases. Phase one is crawl phase. In this case, they are focusing on basic technical metrics, only technical KPIs. The other phase is walk phase. Here they start connecting IT to business outcomes. And in the latest phase, which is run phase, they shift to KPIs that reflects real business success. The main idea is simple. Business-driven monitoring is not just for tech giants. It's for any companies that wants IT to support and to monitor, to watch what actually matters for business. Another company is, it's a very interesting case. It's Uber. Uber had a common problem many of us may face. So when the problem happened for them, different teams using different definitions for the same metrics, which means they were wasting time because they were investigated the same problem, looked at the same metrics, same dashboards, and yeah, they were trying to develop something what could save them time. And they developed something called U-Metric. It's a unified monitoring platform, and they call it single source of truth. So when something happening, they are looking at this U-Metric system, and it's done by business and technical departments. They ensure that definitions are standardized and that all like monitoring activities and metrics unified. They also mentioned that they are monitoring driver acceptance rate, and that was a case study for them in their article. Why it matters? Because it's actually what drives their business. It's a key business KPI for them. And if they improving this KPI, it means improved marketplace efficiency. It helps them to help drivers to be happy. So what we can see in all three cases is for all these real world examples, from my experience and from other tech companies, we can see that they are not only tracking CPU metrics or technical resources. They are doing monitoring business metrics together with technical metrics as well. And now you can ask me, okay, that's great if we call it monitoring of business-driven metrics, but from what point to start, where to look at? And today I prepared just very simple steps, very simple advices, which I always do when I start a new project. SRE needs to work with business teams. It's not only SRE. Whoever is doing monitoring, if it's a DBE, SRE, on-call department, they must be talking to business teams. They must collaborate with business team. SRE knows about infrastructure and performance and technical metrics. Business analysts, they understand the customer behavior. They understand revenue flow. They understand how a business metric could impact business. They understand this impact. And when these two groups do not talk, the critical signals are missed. But when they talk to each other, when they work together, it actually helps to build dashboards, efficient dashboards, which are telling us the full story, not just technical metrics, uptimes, etc., latencies. So this also means that SREs need to learn business KPIs. So they need to learn, they need to understand what drives their revenue, what signals about users' frustrations, and how actually downtime could affect business. Again, traditional monitoring is not enough. And like I said, it's business-driven monitoring is complementing traditional monitoring. So it adds context by tracking what real matters for users and for the companies. So like I mentioned before, There are key metrics for some different domains, and we were talking about e-commerce, SaaS, finances, support, and you can see here what could be tracked. You can even do screenshot if you want, but we will later share our presentation. So, and so on and so on. Each domain can find their core metrics. You don't need to track every side of business, but core metrics which could signal you that something is happening. These metrics aren't just noise. They tell you how your tech impacts real people and how it impacts real money. And my traditional advice is I want to leave you with some very simple idea you can later tell to your team. If you are providing service, whether you are a SRE developer or another tech engineer, try to walk in your customer's shoes. What does it mean? It means don't just ask yourself, first of all, if the system is up. Ask yourself if everything is actually working for your customer. Because in the end of the day, green dashboards don't mean much if your user, if your customer having bad experience and struggling with some issue. And that's what business dream monitoring is about. That is from my side. Thank you. And I would propose that we are doing Q&A.
So again, you can use the corresponding tab of the interface to ask a question. Just type it in and Mike will answer it.
You are welcome to ask questions.
Let's wait a little bit because some people might be typing in right now.
The question is, for business monitoring, you have to monitor DB logs, app logs, etc. Yes, but I would say that's what we call traditional monitoring, traditional technical monitoring. What I usually do as well about logs, we are monitoring amount of logs. So that's the same thing like with feedback. If amount changed, then it means something happened. It could be even that your system could be brute forced by someone else, and this attack is handled by your system properly. But you can notice this attack or problem by checking amount of logs, by checking that someone tries to get access to your system. So actually, I would say log content, monitoring log content is for traditional monitoring. But for business-driven monitoring, we can monitor, we can do monitoring amount of logs, different kind of logs. That could be not only DB logs, apps logs. It could be logs about orders, your orders. It could be log about how much ticket did you sell at this moment, or how much orders didn't were not paid if they were placed into being so. But yeah, logs are very important. Another question is best practices for how do we generate business monitoring data? Generate it from app directly or get it from DB? In all the cases, it depends. I mean, what does this mean? I have no there is no golden rule, or there is no do this or do that. When I usually start in the project, Then I go to our business analyst and we are discussing with them what matters for you. And later we are checking how can we track this information, what system could we query to get this information. It could be sometimes in logs, it could be sometimes in cache, it could be sometimes in other systems. So it's not always in DB. For example, when we started my case number 1, when we noticed that orders per minute dropped, there was no this metric in DB. There was just information about orders. And we created another summary table or view, I don't remember exactly, which was collecting us statistics about orders per minute. And here we were checking like how it's changing. And our alert was very simple. We noticed that it could happen that at single minute we could not have any orders, but there are no time range when for 5 minutes we didn't have an order. So and our business analyst confirmed that we have at least one order per 5 minutes, always, no matter what happened. And this is what we applied. It was a Zabbix, what was requesting information from DB, Zabbix agent, and actually we did set up of very simple metric. If for 5 minutes it's showing us zeros, alert. And this actually what helped us to track it. So my suggestion, do not do things very complicated. Try to make it very simple so everyone can understand how these metrics could impact to your system, what direction to look at if something is not working. For us, for example, if we got this, there is no orders per minute, it didn't show us what actually the problem is. And in our cases, we needed to make an investigation in an opposite way. So we checked one system what could have impact, it was working, another working, another microservice working, and finally we isolated a problem to the fact that payment gateway was down. But again, keep things very simple and do not monitor. From my experience, if you ask to business analyst, they are trying to force you to monitor everything. But please, when you talk to them, try them to filter KPIs to only very important ones, to most important ones. You don't need to track 100 of items. You need to track core items. So if this metric is in alert state, it means business is struggling. So in my case, I usually do monitoring of 5 to 10 metrics, not more, not everything. If this is recorded, yes, it's recorded. Okay. Orders per minute, you get it by combining inserted rows, commits, DB logs, F logs. So you monitor expected behavior versus current behavior. Yes, exactly. What we do is, yes, I call it anomalies. So expectation versus current situation. Exactly, great definition. And actually, this is what happened when I described you that we noticed anomaly in amount of support cases. So support requests are okay, they are always welcome. We have some of them per hour, per day, but in this case, we just noticed that it was jumping very fast, so something is happening. We didn't know what, but we already knew that some problem occurs, or something is happening what is not usual for our usual behavior. So exactly this, expectations versus current situation. Great definition, thank you. How could I get the recording? I think this could be answered by Stacy.
Yes, sure. If you have registered for the webinar, no matter if you attended it or not, we will send you the recording after the session. So we will just send it the link to it once it's uploaded to YouTube via email, and you will be able to revisit what's interesting for you. Thanks.
And I also want to add that our presentation will be published soon as well. So you will be able to find slides of it. Any more questions? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so thank you everyone for your attending. Thanks everyone for your interest to our topic. I find it very useful for almost any team, and this is really something that I try to apply for every project where we are doing monitoring. Thanks, and see you on our next webinars.